Welcome to another episode of Coffee with a Curator. If you tuned in last week, you realized that I wasn't here and I missed it very much. And Rory waited of all weeks to talk about some funny things that went on during the wartime. So I'm glad I made it back this week because he's going to continue that. But I did get to see the video. I tuned into Coffee with the Curator and caught up Roy. So I'm well caught up with those stories, and you've got some even better ones, I think, today. So I'm going to turn
I
it
hope
over to
so.
Roy.
I hope so. Last week it was Civil War and World War One. Today, some of them I don't know personally that they happened, but I have good sources, and I believe them. But one of them, Humor in Uniform, Reader's Digest. Fellow wrote in, and this could be any time. Not just World War II or Vietnam, like I'm going to concentrate on. He said that the drill sergeant told them when they first met up in boot camp. This big tough sergeant comes in and he tells them, relaxes them by saying, "Now I want you men to know something. There's no such thing as a stupid question. However, some questions come with push-ups." So anybody that's considering going in might want to remember that. So be very careful on how you word your questions, or you might have to pay for it. Now, a good World War II story told to me by a co-worker that was actually in France and Germany during World War II. They were involved in the house-to-house fighting, and little German town, and you're ducking, dodging, running from house to house, looking for cover anywhere you can, clearing buildings. And one of the guys in their unit took off across this backyard and fell backwards, holding his throat. One of the other fellows in the squad rushed over there to see how badly injured he was, because he had to be hit in the throat or the chest. Pulled his hands away, had just a thin red line across his throat. It's a clothesline. He had hit a clothesline at full speed. So it wasn't very humorous to him at the time, I'm sure, but looking back on it, yeah, it was a good story to tell. Also, the same guy's name was Bob Hines, and I was working with him in the 70s. He said a Jeep will do 50 or 60 miles an hour in reverse. No, it's not going to do that. Oh yeah, it'll do it. Because they were in the hedgerow country in France. So you have these deep, centuries-old roads, cross-cutting fields. So you approach carefully so that you can see around the corner, because it's just dirt banks and hedgerows. And they eased the Jeep up and looked around the corner, and about 50 yards down, there was a Tiger tank. That's a big, bad German tank, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of that thing. He said, a Jeep will do 50 miles an hour in reverse, because they just slammed it back and went as fast as they could. So got a good chuckle out of that. I don't have a good Korean War story. If somebody has one, we'd love to share it. And it doesn't have to be comedy, but anyway, we do want a true story though. Now, over here in the Vietnam room, another one from Reader's Digest. Fellow wrote in and said, my grandson found out that I was a Vietnam veteran, and one day he mustered up the courage to come up to me and say, "Papa, when you were in the war, did you ever kill anybody?" And I said, "Yeah, probably. I was a cook." So I thought that was pretty good, and if you've ever eaten military food, you might sympathize with that opinion, although I was Navy and we tended to have really good cooks there, so I can't complain about them too much. Another Vietnam era story, and this goes back to Navy, and I gotta give you some background information. When you're at sea in the Navy, you only salute once a day. That's your division officer. You form up in the morning for the division officer to look you over and pass on information, and you salute your division officer at the start of the day. But it's close quarters on a ship, and if you have things to do and you're going to be seeing officers all the time, it's kind of stupid to stop and salute. Nah. So you only have to salute that division officer at the start of the day, and that's it. However, if the captain should wander by, it would be polite to give him a salute. That doesn't hold when you're on shore. Well, our ship got back to the States, and I was on leave. One of my buddies was on leave. We were both up in the San Francisco area, and we were basing our operations out of his mother's apartment. So we were running low on groceries. Pappy and I put on our little sailor suits and go to the Army base called the Presidio. Go to the commissary. We ended up with 3 bags of groceries, and Pappy took 1 bag and headed for the parking lot. Left me with 2 bags to carry, plus I got to pay the bill. That's typical of Pappy, but he was a good fellow. So anyway, I'm about 30 seconds behind him. We walk out, or I walk out, and there are 2 female Army officers, WACs, and they're watching Pappy walk away, and they're just, well, I catch up with Pappy at the car. What's going on with the 2 WAC officers? Well, I came out, walked past and didn't salute, and one of them called me back, said, "Sailor, don't you salute in your Navy?" And I said, "Oh, yes, ma'am, we salute our officers once a day. I've already had mine for the day. Thank you, ma'am." True story. And I don't know if they ever figured out what was going on. So there are a lot of humorous things that happen in the military, along with the tragic ones. So if you have any stories along this line, share them with us. We'd love to hear about them. Nell, back to you.
Thank you, Roy. It's just, it's kind of like operating room humor, I think.
Oh, yes.
You have to find some things. I'll never forget, Sammy Davis, the Medal of Honor recipient, said his best friend, they were in a terrible place in the jungle in Vietnam, and horrible things were going on for them every day, and he didn't want to worry his mother, so he kept writing his mother, telling her how beautiful the jungle was, the trees, the plants, and they were really just kind of looking for things to do. So his mother sent him the harmonica that Sammy ended up learning how to play because she thought he was bored and needed something to do. So, I guess there's just a lot of stories like that. So thank you for sharing those with us, and we hope you enjoyed it. And next week we'll get back to some of our exhibits around here, and we hope that you will like us, share us, or go to ChinookMuseum.org and join us, become a member, or we appreciate all donations. And we'll see you next week.